If you were a 55-year-old expert fired after 15 years of dedication, what would you do? Cry, rage, give up? Kira Jennings laughed, not because she wasn't hurt, but because she had seen it coming and had already prepared a perfect, cold, strategic counterstrike, like a chess game where she was 3 moves ahead. Today's story isn't about a firing, it's about an iconic comeback in the tech world, where a woman, seemingly brought down in silence, rose like an intellectual queen, flipping the entire board. From being ousted from the very product she created, to filing an independent patent, signing with her former company's biggest rival, and sending that company's board into crisis, layoffs, and humbled negotiations. Kira didn't just reclaim her honor, she saved her loyal team, redefined the concept of creative value, and became a new icon for the tech industry. And the best part, she didn't do it for revenge. She did it to prove that intelligence and preparation can never be stolen if you know how to protect yourself. In this video, we'll dive deep into every step, every action Kira took, not just to stand firm after the blow, but to triumph using the very thing they tried to take from her, her own work. Kira Jennings was never late. At 8 a.m., she was at her desk, a dark wooden table by the window on the 18th floor where she'd sat for 15 years. Every morning, she brewed a cup of Earl Grey tea, checked the logs of the distributed Athena system, and started team meetings. But that Monday was different. A brief email from an HR assistant appeared at 8:17. Kira, please join a meeting in room H13 with Marjorie and Denise at 8:30. No subject, no reason, just a single line, the kind of summons from the halls of power. She knew that feeling, chilling but clear, was something a veteran engineer's intuition never got wrong. And that email wasn't the first shock. 3 weeks earlier, Kira had accidentally seen an email mistakenly forwarded from Marjorie to Victor, TechVantage's CEO. Its contents sent a chill down her spine. They were discussing repositioning senior roles to optimize internal intellectual assets, a flowery way of saying, remove Kira, keep her work. Their only mistake was thinking she wouldn't find out. But like a professional chess player, Kira didn't flip the board. She observed. She calculated. She began quietly pulling her pawns back, step by silent step. The meeting took place in a room as cold as a courtroom. On the table, nothing but an envelope. Marjorie, Kira's direct manager, who once praised her as the foundation of the entire system, sat with Denise from HR. No one from the tech team, no small talk. Denise spoke first, her voice flat, like reading a script. Kira, we deeply appreciate your contributions over the past 15 years. However, in the upcoming strategic restructuring, your current role is no longer aligned with the organization's direction. Marjorie kept her head down, not a single glance. She only added one rehearsed line. We'll ensure severance benefits in line with policy, including 2 weeks' pay for each year of service, 3 months of extended health insurance, and a formal handover session on Friday. That was it. 15 years summed up in a minute, an envelope, and a thank you devoid of emotion. Kira gave a faint smile. No tears, no questions. She asked only one thing. Do I have access until the end of the week? Marjorie nodded. Denise hesitated but agreed. Kira stood, thanked them, and left the room like someone closing a deal, not a career. That noon, while the office buzzed with shocking news in the break room, Kira returned to her desk. She sent a brief email to her engineering team. Dear team, as some of you may have heard, I'll be leaving TechVantage at the end of this week. I know this may come as a surprise, but sometimes a door closing only helps you see the path ahead more clearly. See you at the wrap-up meeting on Friday afternoon. Kira. No anger, no blame, but those who'd worked with her, especially the 6 key engineers, knew this wasn't an end. It was the start of something else, something Kira had likely been preparing for a long time. And indeed she had. In her personal hard drive, completely separate from the company system, Kira had developed a new version of Athena, more optimized. higher performing, and most crucially, untied to a single line of TechVantage's code. That version, named Athena Reclaim, would never have its creator's name erased. Kira didn't look back. She didn't waste time complaining or seeking sympathy. From the moment she left that meeting room, she shifted from loyal employee to chess player. And this board was no longer TechVantage's internal game. It was the multi-billion-dollar tech industry. The upgraded version of Athena, codenamed Athena Reclaim, wasn't the product of a week's fury. It was the result of over 8 months of silent work. Every night after 8 p.m., when the company's systems were quiet and no one was accessing them. The original Athena was a powerful distributed algorithm Kira had developed nearly 6 years earlier, the backbone of Counterstrike, which held over 40% of the Fortune 500 market. But due to inadequate protection and a corporate culture of assumed ownership, that work was deemed company property, despite her being its creator. Athena Reclaim was different. Every line of code was rewritten from scratch, from the ground up. Not a single line overlapped with the original in TechVantage's system. Every idea was documented, time-stamped, and stored on a highly encrypted hard drive, locked in a safe at her home. She even used a personal laptop, never connecting to the company's Wi-Fi. Kira didn't just create software. She built a living proof that the entire work was hers, not any corporation's to claim. 3 weeks before her firing, Kira had a secret meeting with renowned patent attorney Harold Kim. Referred by Gregory Sullivan, CEO of Precision Systems, TechVantage's biggest rival. Gregory knew Athena's value. He'd tried to recruit Kira multiple times, unsuccessfully. This time was different. Kira reached out to him. In a 4-hour closed-door meeting at Goldstein and Kim's law office, Kira presented all her evidence, from drafts, handwritten notebooks, development logs, to self-recorded videos of her coding. Step by step, layer by layer, nothing was overlooked. Harold Kim took just 2 days to file a provisional patent for Athena Reclaim, solely in Kira Jennings' name. The Thursday before her departure, while TechVantage remained clueless, Harold sent a notification. The provisional patent has been accepted. The full application is being fast-tracked. Within 45 days, you'll have full confirmation. Kira only smiled. And within Precision Systems, everything was ready. They were prepared to drop a media bombshell just days after Kira left TechVantage. A strategic partnership announcement, paired with a press release asserting that Athena Reclaim's copyright belonged to Kira, and only Precision Systems had commercial exploitation rights. This was no longer retaliation. This was a silent chess match, where Kira didn't win with emotion, but with strategy. She didn't shout. She didn't write accusatory blogs. She didn't badmouth anyone. She followed legal protocols, upheld principles, controlled every piece, every move. She meticulously ensured no line of Athena Reclaim overlapped with TechVantage's assets, even hiring an independent expert team to verify before signing with Precision Systems. Meanwhile, TechVantage naively thought they'd eliminated an aging burden. They didn't know that while they planned to claim Athena as exclusive property, its creator had already moved the throne. On the Monday morning after Kira's departure, a press release hit Bloomberg, Reuters, and Forbes Tech. Precision Systems signs exclusive agreement with Kira Jennings, creator of Athena Reclaim, a new market-leading distributed processing technology. Accompanying it was a detail that shook the industry. Any company using technology related to Athena will need to negotiate licensing with Precision Systems. No one at TechVantage saw this coming. But Kira knew exactly what she was doing. Because from the moment she read that misdirected email, the game was no longer fair. At 8 a.m. Monday, while TechVantage's office was still slowly starting the week, a Wired front-page article sent every meeting room from strategy to crisis mode. Athena Reclaim, Kira Jennings, and Precision Systems flipped the game. The article not only announced Kira's provisional patent, but quoted attorney Harold Kim, confirming that Athena Reclaim was not only technically superior, but legally distinct from the original Athena. the one Tech Vantage built its products around. And at exactly 10 a.m., Precision Systems held a live press conference from New York. Gregory Sullivan stood beside Athena Reclaim's gleaming new logo, with Kira at his side in a deep blue suit, poised and proud. His voice carried weight. We're proud to announce that, starting today, any organization using technology related to the original Athena, or architecturally linked, will need licensing permission from Precision Systems, the legally protected owner backed by the inventor's patent. One sentence, one message, but it landed like a steel punch to the chest of Victor Lawson, Tech Vantage's CEO, who was still in a product strategy meeting on the 22nd floor. Shock, panic, an immediate emergency meeting. Tech Vantage's meeting was filled with ashen faces. Marjorie Thompson couldn't lift her head from the table. Victor paced like a caged animal. They knew nearly 80% of their annual revenue relied on Athena-based products, now legally turned against them. What they didn't expect was the next blow, from within. On Tuesday morning, the 6 key engineers under Kira, who had quietly submitted resignations the previous week, left the company en masse. On LinkedIn, their profiles updated. Senior System Architect, Precision Systems. Each was a pillar of AccountSphere's infrastructure. Each carried irreplaceable knowledge. And internally, employees began whispering, if even the creator isn't recognized, who among us will be? A quiet exodus began. And it didn't stop there. On Wednesday afternoon, Harold Kim sent Tech Vantage a formal letter. Invitation to negotiate licensing for the original Athena due to potential infringement of Athena Reclaim's patent. Victor, now sitting on a powder keg, called Kira. She didn't answer. All messages, emails pleading for misunderstandings, invitations to resolve this for the industry's future, were forwarded straight to Precision Systems' legal team. The only response Victor received was a 12-page PDF from Harold Kim. Details of infringement points and proposed licensing fees. No way around it. No collegial bonds. This was business, intellectual property. And Tech Vantage had just lost their ace by their own arrogance toward the woman who built their core product. By Friday morning, Tech Vantage's stock plummeted 7%. News spread to the board. That afternoon, Victor Lawson and Marjorie Thompson were asked to resign. An internal email went out in silence. Senior personnel changes to adjust strategy and protect the company's image. But everyone knew this was the price for underestimating the woman they thought would leave quietly. They didn't know Kira didn't walk away. She stepped up. When the final door at Tech Vantage closed, another opened, wider, brighter, and this time, Kira held the key. Precision Systems wasn't a gilded revenge, it was a rebirth. No more meetings where she fought to defend her views amid skeptical glances. No more reports with her authorship erased. No more hollow praise from leaders claiming credit. Here, Kira was heard, trusted, and empowered. 3 things she hadn't fully had in 15 years. Gregory Sullivan, Precision Systems' CEO, wasn't the type to steal others' spotlight. He knew when to step back and let talent shine. And Kira shone, not just as Chief Innovation Officer, but as the leader of a new tech vision for the company. Her new office wasn't large, but its window faced east, where morning sunlight lit her decade-old research notebook. In the corner stood a large whiteboard, where she and her team, now including former Tech Vantage engineers, sketched the future of Athena Reclaim, version 3.0. The first thing Kira did at Precision wasn't rebuilding a product. It was rebuilding trust. She met individually with each former engineer, asking about their personal goals, aspirations, and the times they felt dismissed. They didn't expect that someone who'd been pushed out would be the one opening doors to rediscover their worth. Kira redesigned the work model. No bosses, only responsible leads. No forced KPIs, only clear, flexible, transparent goals. No empty meetings, only progress showcases, where everyone could speak and be recognized. The result? Within 3 months, Athena Reclaim's new version exceeded performance targets, achieving a 51% improvement over Tech Vantage's old system. Major corporations, once reliant on AccountSphere, began shifting to precision systems. Not because they were forced, but because they trusted the woman behind the technology. Kira didn't sit in a power chair issuing orders. She moved among project teams, talked with young engineers, and shared how to uphold ethics in creation. She became a mentor, not just in tech, but in surviving and thriving in a cold industry. In her 4th month, she launched an internal program called Code with Voice, where every engineer was credited as the direct author of their code. Contribution data was stored in an internal blockchain, unalterable. She said, "A line of code has a voice, and its writer deserves to be named." The initiative spread. Within 6 months, partner companies asked, "How can we adopt this culture?" And Kira became an icon, not just for tech, but for human value in systems. At home, Kira's life changed too. She started growing vegetables on her balcony, learned to cook Italian dishes. Every Sunday morning, she wrote a journal entry, not about revenge, but gratitude. She wrote to herself, to the version of her that was hurt, to the young engineer who coded in a lab until 2 a.m., unsure who'd read it. "Now I'm reading it," she smiled. She didn't forget TechVantage, but instead of hatred, she saw it as a warning and motivation to build something better. Precision Systems wasn't just a new company. It was a new life, an ecosystem where creators no longer had to sacrifice identity to exist. No one at Precision Systems predicted that Kira's speech at the International Conference on Distributed Systems would go viral within 72 hours. A 90-second clip spread across Twitter, now X, TikTok, and LinkedIn. "I used to think if I worked hard enough, the system would recognize me, but then I realized the system is built to make you think that, then use your effort to run itself." That line became iconic. Soon, hashtags like Yaku Respect the Inventor, Kira was the architect, Tech Justice, and especially Athena reclaimed flooded platforms. A massive wave rose, not just support for Kira, but outrage at a corporate system that had long forgotten ethical roots. TechVantage was dragged into a storm of criticism. Old articles resurfaced, exposing a culture of suppressing women, appropriating intellectual work, and internal manipulation. An anonymous employee emailed The Verge, revealing that in the past 5 years, not a single TechVantage patent listed a woman as the primary inventor, despite women making up 30% of the R&D team. The issue snowballed, forcing mainstream media to act. Bloomberg, Wired, Forbes all ran headlines. From victim to icon, Kira Jennings and the rise of tech justice. The bitter irony. TechVantage's effort to erase Kira elevated her to a position no one imagined. A thought leader in the industry, not just in tech, but in corporate culture. In a 60 Minutes interview, Kira faced a tough question. "Do you hate TechVantage?" She paused, then answered, "I hate lazy thinking, the arrogance of believing you can steal someone's work without consequences." That quote was cited across hundreds of sites, printed on t-shirts, and even became a podcast title, The Cost of Arrogance. Under media pressure, TechVantage's new leadership couldn't stay silent. Richard Donovan, the new CEO, released an internal video to employees. "We made mistakes, not just legal ones, but ethical ones. If we don't learn from this, we don't deserve to exist." The video leaked, and instead of calming the storm, it became clear evidence of surrender to the power of individual-led justice. Conferences worldwide began inviting Kira as a keynote speaker. She didn't talk tech. She spoke about healthy creative ecosystems, where knowledge creators must be recognized, not just when they leave, but from the start. Kira didn't accept every invitation. She chose educational events with students and young engineers. At a Stanford workshop, she said, "If I had to leave a place to be seen, I'd make the new place a magnifying glass, to shine light on those still overlooked." The room fell silent, then erupted. Kira's story reached Congress. A Massachusetts congresswoman cited her case while proposing a new law on individual intellectual property rights in corporate settings, previously never seriously discussed. Precision Systems, without PR, received over 40 partnership applications in the following month. Kira didn't just reverse the roles of fired employee and tech owner, she rewrote the game's nature, forcing those once in high seats to bow to truth. When Precision Systems secured exclusive rights to Athena Reclaim, people thought Kira had won, but she saw it differently. Winning one chess game doesn't mean you've changed the rules, she told the advisory board in a closed meeting after the media frenzy. If we stop here, others can repeat the same story, just with different names. Kira didn't want to just protect her product. She wanted to protect every creator's right to be named, especially the vulnerable, overshadowed by old power structures. Her first move was establishing an ethics and IP, intellectual property department under the executive board. This unit could intervene in any project at Precision Systems, not to control, but to ensure creators had a voice and legal recognition internally and externally. Simultaneously, Kira introduced the Traceable Attribution Protocol, TAP, an open-source blockchain integrated protocol that tagged every line of code, idea, or model with metadata showing the author, creation time, and contribution history. TAP wasn't just transparent, it was unalterable, undeletable, and unclaimable. Within 3 months, over 60 startups and 5 major corporations signed on to use TAP. It wasn't just a tool, it was a new value system. Kira didn't forget academia, where she began. She partnered with MIT and Stanford to create the Athena Fund, supporting tech research led by women and minorities. Unlike traditional funds, the Athena Fund required funded initiatives to include a commitment to protect creators' intellectual property, advised by the legal team that represented Kira. "We don't need another revolution," she said at the fund's launch. "We need a foundation where no one has to stand up alone anymore." Tech Vantage, despite a new CEO, faced lasting consequences. Under pressure from shareholders and creator rights advocates, they introduced a policy mandating transparent intellectual property attribution, requiring all patents to publicly list primary and secondary contributors. It was dubbed the Jennings Clause, a public admission of past wrongs. At the new board, one member said, "Without someone like Kira, we'd probably still be putting our names on others' work without shame." The public no longer called Kira a vindicated victim. They called her the architect of a new game. But more remarkably, the companies that once opposed her, stayed silent, or profited from appropriation, now had to play by her rules. No courtroom, no legal victory. Kira created an unspoken commandment in tech. To survive long-term, play fair. And that was no longer optional. It was the standard for existence. Initially, Kira only wanted to protect her intellectual property, but no one expected her poised silence and strategic moves to spark an undercurrent. The "I've been through that too" wave. A month after her Chicago conference speech, thousands of emails and messages flooded her personal contact, from female engineers, scientists, inventors worldwide. They weren't asking for jobs or startup advice. They wrote, "You spoke for us. My name was erased from my first patent. When I was pushed out, I stayed silent, but you made me want to stand up." And so, something Kira hadn't planned, a quiet revolution began to form. At top tech universities, students started Athena Talks clubs, where female tech students shared experiences, learned to protect themselves, understood IP law, and crucially, recognized when their efforts were being undervalued. At MIT, a student group built Credit Chain, a TAP-based software for transparent group project contribution logs. They sent it to Kira. Instead of keeping it for Precision Systems, she open-sourced it on GitHub, encouraging global free use. "Knowledge can't be stolen if it's born from the community," she wrote on the project's homepage. In hiring, tech companies began shifting evaluation processes. Beyond titles, they asked, "What did you contribute to a project? And were you recognized for it?" Fast Company called this the Jennings effect, when a new generation of talent valued transparency and fairness as much as skills and performance. Kira didn't chase fame. She declined board seats and even a Woman of the Year nomination from a major magazine. She said, "I don't need recognition. I need to see others' names no longer erased from the honor roll. Instead of award ceremonies, she flew to New Mexico, where young engineers were struggling to protect an AI project on indigenous language processing from being bought cheaply by a big firm. Kira didn't arrive as a celebrity. She sat in a small room, reviewed their contract line by line, pointed out legal traps. After 2 days, she connected them to her trusted legal team and left without giving her name. A year later, at a TEDx event, the host asked, "Do you consider yourself a feminist activist?" She smiled lightly. "I just reclaimed my name, but if that inspires others to reclaim theirs, then maybe I've done something bigger than myself." And she had. From a woman fired in silence, Kira became someone who didn't need to shout to make systems listen. Not with anger, but with resolve, sharp thinking, and unbuyable ethics. Her revolution had no banners, no slogans, but it lived in every credited line of code, every transparent contract clause, every student daring to say, "I did this, and I deserve recognition." One rainy afternoon in San Francisco, Kira entered a meeting room at the Institute of Tech Integrity, hosting a closed forum between tech leaders and innovators hurt by the system. She didn't know that one special guest was Victor Lawson, former TechVantage CEO who'd publicly taken credit for Athena and quietly greenlit her removal. The moderator whispered to Kira during a break. He didn't want to speak, but knowing you'd be here, he came to listen. Kira nodded, unsurprised. In the final discussion, someone unexpectedly stood. It was Victor, his face more haggard, hair half gray, no trace of the commanding figure who once led a 1,000-person company. "I told myself what I did was for the company's good. But really, I was afraid to face a woman better than me." The room fell silent. Victor turned to Kira. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to say, I learned a lot, but you paid the tuition for that lesson." All eyes turned to her. Kira smiled, light as an autumn breeze. "No, you're wrong. I didn't pay your tuition. I paid to learn for myself. That silence isn't weakness, but preparation for the right words at the right time. And sometimes, those words aren't to condemn. They're to start anew." The room felt a weight lift. Soon after, an unexpected email arrived. Sender, Marjorie Thompson, Kira's former manager, who'd summoned her to the firing meeting and delivered the news without emotion. In the email, Marjorie wrote, "I was once proud to be the only woman in management, but to keep that spot, I enabled things I knew were wrong. I'm not apologizing for forgiveness. I just want to say, you made me look at myself and start living authentically." Attached was a photo, Marjorie in an ethical leadership course at Stanford, now retraining managers. Kira didn't reply, but she saved it in a special folder, Seeds. Then, at a Berlin tech event, Kira met Denise, the HR staffer who'd handed her the termination papers. Denise approached, eyes teary, and shook her hand. "That day, I couldn't look at you. I was afraid to see disappointment in the eyes of someone I admired." Kira took her hand, squeezed gently. "We can't change the past, but we can make what we do next, an apology." And Denise, 5 years later, became chief HR officer at a startup using Kira's TAP protocol, with a transparency recognition policy embedded in onboarding from day one. These encounters didn't make headlines. No stages, no hashtags. But those quiet moments, when those who wronged her turned back, and the one they hurt listened, created an ending not of victory, but of healing. Soon after these emotional meetings, Kira accepted an invitation to teach at Carnegie Mellon, not to lecture on algorithms, but to lead a unique program, Athena Lab, a student-run innovation hub focused on developing transparent, ethical tech that ensures proper creator recognition. Kira didn't ask for the center to bear her name, but the students insisted on Athena as a symbol of strategy, justice, and knowledge, exactly like her. Here, she wasn't a traditional professor. She joined walk shops, outdoor discussions where students shared failures, recounted times their group's contributions were ignored, and learned to build fair recognition systems into product structures. A senior student, Hana Lee from South Korea, shared, "When our advisor took credit for our research, we were ready to abandon the project. But when Kira said, 'Don't retreat, rewrite the contribution structure accurately, and sign the right names before submitting next time,' we started over." That research is now recognized by the Science Institute. Hana wasn't alone. Within 2 years, over 600 students joined Athena Lab. Many launched startups or joined open source groups with transparent creator rights mechanisms. Some even built real-time contribution tracking tools, clarifying who did what in every line of code. A student named Emil, once ready to drop out after discovering a professor submitted his group's AI model to a research institute, emailed Kira, "You don't know, but if you hadn't knocked on the lab door and asked, 'Have you protected this model yet?' I'd be waiting tables now." Emil later co-founded Open Pledge, an open-source platform helping research teams create contribution recognition contracts before collaborating. For Kira, she remained unassuming, never sitting in the VIP row. She stood by the coffee machine with students, ready to spend 2 hours reviewing a line of code or a 5-person team's patent proposal. For every project at risk of appropriation, she taught a core lesson. You won't always win in the system, but if you understand the rules, you can make the system see you. One day, a group of Nigerian students met Kira, asking permission to name their first innovation hub Jennings House. She laughed softly. "My name doesn't matter, but if it helps someone walk into a room and believe they deserve recognition, then I allow it." Kira's legacy wasn't hundreds of speeches, but thousands of nameless actions rippling outward. They called it the Athena generation, young people who believed creation isn't just coding or inventing, but daring to claim the right to be named for what you've made, no matter who tries to take it. One autumn morning, Kira Jennings attended a community tech high school's opening ceremony in Oregon. No one recognized her, the woman in a brown sweater and baseball cap, sitting in the back row. On stage, a 12th grader spoke. "I used to think creators had to be special or naturally gifted. But after reading about Athena and Ms. Jennings, I realized creation is refusing to let others write your story wrong." Kira just smiled. No one knew the woman the student spoke of was mere Rousaway. She didn't come for recognition. She came for another reason. In a corner of the schoolyard after the ceremony, Kira met Zoe, a senior who'd won a state science fair with a blockchain-based student data management model. Zoe shared nervously, "I'm scared if I share my idea, they'll take it and patent it first. I don't know how to keep my rights." Kira pulled a small notebook from her pocket, wrote the contact of a trusted IP attorney, and said, "Start by believing you deserve credit. The rest, I'll guide you through." Zoe didn't know who she'd met. She only knew. An older woman, calm, looked her in the eye, didn't dismiss her fears, but validated them as real. Kira no longer held a fixed role at Precision Systems. She worked as an independent advisor, choosing projects with long-term value, not profit, but social impact. She lived in a small lakeside house, waking each morning to write a page in her recognition journal, noting small contributions from those she met. The barista remembering every student's name, the young engineer fixing a colleague's bug without needing credit, the single father learning to code each night after tucking his child in. No one read that journal but her, and that was enough. One evening, strolling by the lake, she met a group of freshmen camping. They invited her to their bonfire, unaware of who she was. They asked, "What did you do before retiring?" Kira looked into the flames and said, "I worked in a world where people believed only those on stage got credit. I chose to write the names of those behind the curtain." A student pressed, "What do you do now?" Kira smiled. "Now I help others write their own names." Kira Jennings' story doesn't end with applause, but with a glance, from her to the next generation. No titles needed, no need to be remembered. Because one day when someone is asked, "Who helped you believe you were worthy?" they'll smile and say, "There was someone who believed in me, and because of them, I wrote my name on my work." Kira Jennings' story is a reminder. Sometimes a person's greatest achievement isn't what they built for themselves, but how many hands they inspired to build a fairer world together.